We're reaching out to realtors. What does a fire sale look like on this? How quickly can you turn this over? Well, you're not turning over a $3 million home in 30 days, right?
Right.
So we were going, and what was the mortgage? It was like $7,000 a month or so.
I mean, it was 7,600. That's all I remember. 7,600 something. It was like,
there you go.
Tracy, how are we going to carry this
Wow.
property? It's not going to sell quick. We can't, like, how are we going to rent it or Airbnb?
What's going on, everybody? I'm so excited. I have Pamela and Tracy today from Owners Club, Sub 2 and Gator. God, pinch me, yo. It's, I'm super grateful. Thanks for everybody to be here, checking out another episode of my YouTube channel. Again, I'm so excited to have Tracy and Pamela. Tracy, I've been recently exploring. I pivoted about a few months ago. It's been close to, time flies. It's been about 6 months. The
sure
capital raising, private money lending space. And I wanted to jump right into maybe ask Pamela or Tracy a nightmare situation when it comes to private money lending.
Well, don't we have some of those? Pam, why don't you tell him we have a YouTube video. Oh, yeah, we have that YouTube video. What do we call it? Our best and our worst.
Best and our worst.
Yeah, why don't you tell that story?
Yes. So it was one of our first ones, if not the first one, actually.
Yeah.
And everything was going very smooth. We had a wonderful TC that basically let us know what was going to happen step by step. And we were very grateful in the end that we had him walking us through this, because it did turn a little bit crazy. So the return was going to be really good. And we didn't get too crazy with, hung up on the numbers, but we were like, wow, this is, seems just really fabulous. And it's a short term. The borrower was originally saying 15 days, but she's going to do 30, but 15 days will pay you back. And we're like, all right, this is great, And when you start being a PML, I think it's like a lot of things that get you excited, and you're like, all right, let's do more. And so we've learned, we learn as we go. You got to sit back for a second and just take it all in and move it a certain pace and not kind of like keep going. So anyways, we got into it. We were excited about it. And when it was getting close to the time where she was supposed to pay us back, well, it certainly exceeded the 15 days. We were now approaching the 30-day mark.
Right.
And we're like, so what happens here? What do we do here? And, oh, no, well, she'll just, she'll do what she's supposed to do. I think she had a hotel, Tracy, that she was working and refinancing, and something was going on. And she just originally needed a little extra time. So that's really what this was supposed to be for. And it didn't appraise.
She was doing a refinance. That's what it was. Right. She was doing a refi, didn't appraise.
Right. So it was going to be a little bit longer. So long and short of it, this exceeded the 30 days. She started ghosting people right around the mark where we were supposed to get paid back, and then would accrue late fees. And the late fees, again, this was one of our first deals. So we weren't really sure how that all worked and how it got built in. So we didn't ask for this particular late fee, but it was a larger late fee. But it was really suggested and came back to us that way. It's not something we asked for.
Right.
And so then she tried negotiating that. She was negotiating late fees. And that was after she ghosted people. So one of the things that we try to tell people when we're talking about this is you have to communicate. Communication is key. So if she was, exceeding that 15-day mark, maybe she should have started communicating. Instead, she backed off and stopped communicating. So that got us all a little squirrely. Our TC was all over it. He was
great TC.
He was communicating with us via text. He was communicating with title and anyone that was involved. I think even her, he was directly messaging or emailing her and copying us. So we knew he was communicating with us the whole time. But like we said, it came to a point where she was just stopped communication. So then it started, communication was coming back. We had attorneys' numbers and whatnot. And long and short of it, she ended up paying it back. She paid it back really late. Was it 30 days, Trace? I think it ended up being.
She was 60 late. She was 60 days late on that.
60 days, because we ended up getting to the point where we contacted an attorney in that state and to find out how we move about. Yeah. She suggested the demand letter. And then from that point, it would have gone into, a legal battle, if you will. But that, I think the demand letter is what kind of did it. And we ended up getting paid back. It was very, shall we say, we made a lot of money on it, for our return. So that's why we say it was the worst, but the best. But during that process, we realized what we didn't look at, the big picture. That property could have been ours at some point had she defaulted. And we weren't sure how we were going to manage that. It was a large property with a big mortgage.
We just hadn't thought of holding costs. Yeah.
So it was a lot of things we learned, right? So that was one of them. One of them was you have to have those exit strategies, and you have to have what if. We started getting a little excited, like towards the end, and when she was late, like, oh gosh, well, look at this property.
It was a $3 million property, and what did we lend?
Wow.
200,000 or 300,000, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that was a big chunk.
I want to say there was like $1 million and change on equity, right? So we're so excited about that, but as the reality setting in that we might own this house, we started looking at what's a PITI, what's a homeowners association, what's the utilities going to cost for holding. We're reaching out to realtors. What does a fire sale look like on this? How quickly can you turn this over? Well, you're not turning over a $3 million home in 30 days, right?
Right.
So we were going, and what was the mortgage? It was like $7,000 a month or something. I mean,
it was 6. That's all I remember. 7,006 something. It was like,
there you go,
Tracy. How are we going to carry this property? It's not going to sell quick. We can't like how we going to rent it or Airbnb. There was like, oh my gosh, we didn't think that through, right? It wasn't, thank God, an expensive education. We actually made out in the deal, but
we did.
You have to think past that, right?
Yeah.
So
I love that. Thanks for sharing that, because it combines, right? I always like to start with that worst case scenario, because we always learn so much, right? There's those people that just sit on the sidelines and analyze and paralyze. What is that? That they just paralyze, right, on analyzing stuff and not really
analysis paralysis.
Analysis paralysis, and then but sometimes y'all got into a big deal, $200,000.
Yeah.
Woo.
We went hard and heavy. And I think if you're really going to take up private money lending on the regular, you have to be open to learn. You will make so many mistakes. I don't care. You could have the best TC in the world, the best attorney in the world, the best connector. You could be lending to somebody that has so much experience. It doesn't matter.
There is risk.
There's going to be mistakes. And if you're not open to learn, don't even waste your time in this business. That's what I would say. Don't even waste your time. Find another passive way to make money. This isn't going to be your way. You have to be open to learning. In that alone, what we've learned and we've shared with new investors is if you come to the table and you say, I have $100,000 to lend out 50. And then maybe lend 25 on another deal and keep 25 as a safety net, because one of those deals could potentially turn upside down. You're going to need to hire an attorney. You're going to have holding costs. You might have to rehab a property. You don't lend out all your money. Have a nest egg for the what if. We've learned we don't invest $200,000 anymore like that in one swoop. We break it up into smaller pots so that we are less likely to just lose everything.
Right. We stagger them for sure. You have to look at the big picture. If you put all your eggs in one basket, you ultimately you risk losing your whole basket, because it is about minimizing your risk, but anything can happen. Like there's so many scenarios where things happen out of anyone's control, for that matter.
Yeah.
Well, if it's today's money, you're risking to lose it. So you have to think of the whole scenario. That's why I say you need to really, as a new investor, I would encourage to do all your training, understand the terms, understand the security documents and instruments that are there, and then just take it slowly. Just because you're sitting on an egg, you might want to get your money working for you, but get to know the ropes and get to know don't you agree, Tracy? Every deal
100%.
is different.
Yeah.
It's all different. They're all dynamic in their own way. And we have learned from every single one that we've learned from. And everyone we talk to, we tend to learn things from them as well, because everything can just change all in a moment's notice.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to be
That was a great question.
Yes.
Awesome. So out of that, I'm going to pick out a few things, right? We talked about if you're new into investing, right, and you're looking at whether I should fix and flip, whether I should go into wholesaling, or whether I should do lending, right? There's always that saying, hey, you either have time or money, right?
Right.
So if that person has the money,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing what you guys know now, I know, Pamela, you talked about the training and understanding all this stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
if we were going to say, hey, name 4 or 5 things to ensure that somebody new with capital that wants to deploy. I know Tracy gave that awesome tip. Hey, if you have $100,000, break it down into different things. But as far as securities go, we're going to focus right now on single family. So when it comes to a single family PML deal or PMP deal, we'll stay with PML, as a private
Yeah,
money lender.
they're very different. Right. Very
They're
different.
different. So we'll stay on a PML deal. What are the 5 things that you look for when you're analyzing a deal? Just to give somebody when they're going through the training, I heard this. This is one of the
Are you,
top things. So
are you talking security or just
security.
deal analyzation? Okay. So specifically
Let's
security.
talk security. Yeah, because we want to make sure that everybody's capital is secured, right?
Yeah.
And so because we're in it to invest, right? It's not a
Yeah.
donation. We're here to make money. That's why
Yeah.
it's a business. So
Yeah.
if you were to give 5 things that could protect somebody's money, what would those 5 things be?
First and foremost, we're going to get on that soapbox, Trace, right? You have to have an attorney. Look at
Mm,
your documents, draw up your documents
Yeah.
in the state in which you're going to be investing. So if you're investing in Florida, you want an attorney that works in Florida, that can work in Florida, that knows the laws inside and out.
mm,
And the documents will be in your favor. They will protect you as a lender. We can't stress that enough.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any, it's almost ignorant to save that money or not spend that money, whether it's 500 or 800, $100 to protect your asset. You're going to
mm,
loan 100,000 or 50,000. Doesn't matter if you loan in 20,000, and you're going to look to get a return on that that's significant. But you didn't want to pay the $500-600 to have documents drawn up from a legal
hmm,
office.
Yeah. Or
That's
reviewed.
or reviewed, at least
But Pam, I
reviewed.
want to even go back before that and just say that it's a way even beyond your security instruments. If you are going to be a lender, it's a job at first.
mm,
Yes, you can go through a connector. That's wonderful. Hopefully, if they're a good connector, if they are on the Monday or Friday Confident Conversation Gator Zooms, they're going to learn about what that looks like to be a good connector. Even if they're a great connector and they've actually vetted the deal for you, you still have to underwrite the deal and you have to understand what underwriting a private money loan looks like. It is
mm,
very different than underwriting to buy and hold a property. So I just want to, I cannot stress that enough. You absolutely have to learn. And if you don't know how, get an accountability partner and work
Mhm,
together.
mhm.
That's why Pam and I work so well together. We're always bouncing things off one another. So
mm,
out of the gate, you have to understand what the underwriting process looks like. Once you do that, you are going to learn about security instruments. And then, yes, to Pam's point, I don't understand why people don't use an attorney. You don't, once you've done it for a while, you're not going to have to hire them on every deal. However, every deal is different. We reach out to our attorney regularly and it's a couple $100. Hey, can you just take a look at this? I'm not, this language is different than what I've seen before.
mm,
Um, if you're going to, especially if you're going to have the borrower's attorney draft those documents, you absolutely have to have your attorney review them. It is a great way to save money though. If the borrower is willing to have their attorney draft everything,
Mhm.
awesome. Let them do that and then send it to your attorney for
mm,
review suggestions. But I'll let you
We
go back
also,
to
I was going to say, with that being said, we often talk on our Zoom on Fridays about shadowing someone. If you're
mm,
brand new to it and you've done your training, so you know enough to get involved, but you're not confident enough to get through the underwriting process and just the whole process in general, like Tracy just described, then ask someone that you know is experienced and ask, hey, can I shadow you through this process for this particular deal so I can learn firsthand how to do this? It's great to not have to do it alone, but it's even better to be with someone experienced and shadow them. There's nothing wrong with that. And it doesn't show weakness. It actually, I would admire someone that does that. Because 100%. You're looking at it piece by piece. And yes, it takes a little patience for that person that you're asking. But, especially in this community, everybody loves to help. I don't think there's anything wrong with anything when it comes to TC and PML and anything, fix and flip, all of that. We have such a vast community. There's no reason why you can't ask somebody to just shadow them and learn the ropes firsthand.
Yeah. So back to your question. And I just want to stress too, when you're securing a multifamily or a single family, same thing. You're looking for the same security. It's a business. If you're securing a business, that can become different. There's multiple ways to do that. But if you're doing a single multifamily, what we require is a mortgage or a deed, depending on the state that you're in. If you can get a deed in lieu of foreclosure, that's awesome. That makes the foreclosure process really simple. But not all states allow a deed in lieu of foreclosure. Some are a deed state, some are a mortgage state. So you kind of want to figure that out ahead of time. So we require a mortgage. That's what puts the lien on the property. You can take a first or a second lien position, and that depends on whether or not they already have debt on the property. They have a hard money loan, or maybe they have another private money lender. It might be a second position, and that's a very different, that process of getting your funds back if you have to foreclose looks very different than if you're a first lien position holder. So that's kind of can even be a whole separate, that could be a separate, YouTube that you do or podcast that you do. So always a lien position of some sort, right? And as a new investor, you have to understand what those look like and decide what your threshold is. Are you going to lend on second liens or only first liens, right? What does that look like for you? So a lien, and then a promissory note. That promissory note is what lines out the actual details of the loan. What is the borrower promising, hence promissory, to pay you back? What does that look like? That's where it's very specific and clear. The what, where, how, when, why, all those things.
And they're specific to the lender. There's definitely specific to the lender. That's when a lender says, I want such and such to be in writing. I want terms. I want weekly inspections, depending if it's a fix and flip rehab project. That's when the lender, you want to make sure it's all built into the document. If it's not written down, it's not happening.
Such a good point. If it is not in writing and signed by both parties, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. You could have a Zoom where you talked about it for an hour and you both agreed on a Zoom. If it is not in that document, it is not happening. Because you could bring that Zoom to court and the judge could look at that and go, okay. And then the borrower could go, oh, but we had a conversation after that. And then we agreed on this, which is what was signed. So if it's not in that promissory note and that JV agreement, it does not exist. Right. So that's the next document, is a JV agreement. The joint venture is there for a couple of purposes. And again, that's something we could maybe, I could go briefly into, but a joint venture agreement, I think a lot of people know a JV agreement. It creates a relationship, a business relationship between you and the borrower. Maybe it's 2, 3 lenders, one borrower, maybe you have a TC in there that's getting paid. All of that is outlined in that joint venture agreement. And it kind of creates a side business agreement with each other.
What everyone's roles are.
Sorry, Pam. Yeah, what everybody's roles and responsibilities look like. So, if you're using a TC, it's going to say that they're in here, drafting paperwork and they're getting paid X amount of dollars. Some will say that it also could be used to protect you around usury laws. If you are new and you're listening, you're probably going, what laws? Usury laws. You could Google it. It's something you should know and be aware of. Every state has a law called usury, and it is put in place to essentially protect the borrower. And if I had to guess, it's probably there because of like, Joe's cars, come down, we'll sell anybody a car. It doesn't matter how, no income, low income, we'll give you a car. And you go to Joe's car and you get your new car or your used car, and yeah, we'll give you a loan at 25%. And so each
Mm-hmm.
state has a cap on what you can legally lend at. And oftentimes, if you're doing gap funding or you're doing some sort of gator funding, you're typically exceeding those laws. And so some will say that the JV agreement also could potentially protect you from those laws, because now you're in a relationship, a business relationship, in a partnership with the borrower. So the lender and borrower are partners. So you no longer have a consumer loan, right? The borrower is no longer a consumer, he's a partner. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know, I don't want to go into what I think about that. I'm just going to say that that's
another attorney question.
Good point. Yeah, it's an attorney question.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the state you're working with.
And then, of course, you have a personal guarantee. We require that. But remember, the personal guarantee is only as good as the person is. So if the person is broke as a joke, what's the point of the promissory note, right?
Joke.
Do they have anything
Why
you can
ask for
take from them? No. I still get it. But just keep in mind, if you're counting on the promissory note as a way for you to get made whole again, you have to really see what kind of assets. And as the lender, like Pam said, you can ask for that. We ask for a copy of your credit score. If I'm not sure, I'm going to get copies of your personal bank statements. Oh, you don't want to give that to me? That's okay. I'm sure I'll find somebody else to lend to you. That's my SOP. I'm not going to break that rule. So
I love
that's 5, but
that's a good point. Have your list, develop your list of things that you're not willing to go back on, right? And you come to the table, the borrower will know what you are expecting, what you're going to ask for. And then they can decide, like Tracy said, well, you don't like that. Well, okay, well, there's someone else, there's another deal, there's another lender, and we're not a good fit. And there's a lot of times that happens. You're not a good fit.
Right. I love the way I love the way you said you have your SOP in place, right? Because it is a business. It is a lending business.
Yes,
so
100%.
They have to comply to what you're asking them for. If not, then you're not the right fit. So
you can't tell the bank, I don't feel like giving you that document. Well, you're not going to get it home.
I mean, I'm going through a hard money loan right now. And I was just telling Pam, I mean, every day it's something new, another doc, another this, proof of that. And so people will, borrowers will come to us, and we've heard so many times, oh my gosh, you want so much. This is like ridiculous. Well, go get a hard money loan then. They're going to ask for 10 times this, but that's okay.
Just go to the bank down the street, try to get a loan from them.
I usually touch on going on our gut, and how while we have a SOP, it also, part of the SOP is listen to your gut.
Yeah.
Take the emotion out of it. That's one important thing as a PML. Take emotion out of it. It is a business transaction from the start to the finish.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you said, yes, Edgar, oh yeah, I'd love to help you with this project. And then Edgar presents all this stuff and you're like, oh, my gut tells me something's not right. You're not, maybe you're ghosting up. And then it's like, oh, well, I said that I would. Well, yeah, you said you would, but take the emotion out. It's a business transaction. It has to all add up and it has to fall into place, or you don't do it.
Yeah. That's what we talk a lot about on our Gator Zoom on Friday. Is, you really have to be confident in yourself and your decision, because you will have borrowers push back at you all the time.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to dog a borrower. We're borrowers at times too, but we've learned how to present a deal so that it works, right? And it looks good and it's easy to navigate. So as a lender, especially if you're newer, borrowers can sniff you out a mile away that this is your first time you're lending. They're going to push back. And if you don't feel confident, go find somebody to support you. Yes. People come to us and they're like, hey, can you help me with this? And we have a whole group of women Zoom that we talk to on Tuesdays, and a lot of women bring their stuff there so that they can ask the questions, get the feedback, and have the confidence to go back to the borrower and say, yes, I do want to lend to you. And I said I would lend to you. However, A, B, and C needs to be fixed. We need to work out these details before I can lend. And what we see a lot is what Pam said is they have that emotion. They know they shouldn't lend on this. They know that something is not right. They know this doesn't look right, but they feel bad. They like you, Edgar.
Right.
I really
He's a
like
great guy.
him.
What a smile.
I want to help him.
What's another thing, Tracy? Oh, Edgar's been doing so many projects. He's done so many things. He's busy in the business.
Talks all about Edgar.
Yes, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And that's a tough one. That is a tough one, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that due diligence, right? Yeah, that due diligence. That's one of the things.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you just have to remember, this is your money. You've worked really hard for it. And when you can find a good relationship, when it's symbiotic, when you as the lender and you as the borrower, you really, you click, that's when this is a good relationship. We're going to help build each other's business. Do you still do your due diligence? Yes.
Absolutely.
I might have lent you 25 times. And on the 26th time, if I get lazy, if I don't follow my SOP, I guarantee you something's going to go wrong. Guarantee you.
Right.
Yeah. I love the way you broke down, your SOP procedure from all the securities, right, that are involved, the deed, the JV, and all the other documents, securities to ensure, and then the gut, right, making sure that you guys are in sync, right? Because
it's a relationship. You're building a relationship, and the relationship, you have to build it, right? So that's another good note is you're vetting out. You're vetting, each side should be vetting each other out, and it's part of your due diligence for sure.
And
that's a good point. Oh yeah, sorry, Edgar. Yeah.
Go ahead, Tracy.
I was going to say, Pam, that was such a great point too about the vetting each other. So we talk all the time, poor borrowers, we pick on ourselves all the time. And the borrower is bringing the risk and the lender is taking the most of the risk. However, we've also run into situations early on when we were doing more connecting, where we had a lender, they seemed wonderful. It was great. And we were so excited and we found them a deal and we spent all this time underwriting and vetting the borrower. And we were like, oh yeah, we got a deal for you. When do you have time to talk? Oh yeah, that's great. Let's get on a call Friday. Okay, great. In our mind, we're going, they're going to, if they like it, they're ready to go. Well, they weren't ready to go. Oh, this is a great deal. Yeah, I want to lend on it, but my funds are out and they'll be back in 2 weeks. Or my money is in my self-directed IRA and it takes, a week and a half to get it. And the whole time we're saying it needs to close next week.
Right.
So you also have to vet the lender, make sure they understand, one, how to underwrite, because you can't throw a deal at them and then find out that they don't know what to do with it and they expect you to help them. Right. And that might be fine.
Right. Their experience. You have to know their level of experience, right? The borrower, what's their level of experience? But your lender, what level of experience, especially if there's a connector involved, you have to know, this lender has never lent before, or this lender has only been bamboozled before and doesn't know the right way, right? Yeah. Some say they've done the training, but they haven't. Like, you have to know where you're at for the whole deal to move forward and smooth. You have to know both sides of the coin here. Very, very important.
Yeah. And I wanted to you mentioned something, both of y'all mentioned something important, how the experience level, right, from both sides. As business owners, because I'm around a lot of Hispanic community and I'm letting them know, hey, you're running your construction company, right? You're doing great. But instead of just leaving your money in the bank or sending it over to Mexico, let's invest here in Georgia, right? Let's invest in some opportunities that help the community. And you mentioned the experience, right? And that is one of the things on how do you educate them, right? And we talked a little bit about underwriting, making sure they understand the security process, right? How to secure the deals. And it's important, right? And I think when you put those two things together, right? I think that is a recipe for them understanding more of the real estate investing side and where opportunities, where they could deploy some of their capital.
Right.
Mhm.
Now, like what you're wanting to do, I just love that so much. I live in a very large Hispanic community, and I have very tight ties to the Hispanic community where I live. Lots of friends. Most of the friends that I have, they all have their own businesses, and they're very untrusting of,
Mhm.
as they should be, in my opinion. They're very
Absolutely.
untrusting of our banking system, and so, like you said, their money's under the mattress. Most of it is not in the bank, and or it goes to Mexico or South America. For them, I think learning the process of underwriting is probably more than they want to have the time for or even really need to do. So what you could do that would be so beneficial to them and your community is create a fund or a syndication. And so
Mm.
you are doing all of the due diligence on their behalf. And then as long as you're confident in what you're doing, then they're going to invest in you because of the relationship that you build. They're not having to do any of that due diligence as far as the real estate piece, right? Their due
Mhm.
diligence is with you. Is Edgar our guy? Does Edgar actually have our best interest at heart? Which I know you do, because that's the kind of person that you are. And so you could create a fund or a syndication to purchase, say, a large multifamily that you're going to rehab and rent to maybe immigrant families that don't have
Mhm.
documentation that can't get a rental. Maybe you're going to buy a house and wrap it to a family that can't buy a home traditionally. And that's a way you could completely transform your community, because not only are you creating housing opportunities for families that would not be able to get into those homes otherwise, and you're building wealth within your community amongst local Latinos that
Right.
don't have that opportunity otherwise. So that is, I
Yeah.
think that's
Thank
like
you.
outstanding. Yeah, I love
Awesome.
your commitment to your community. That's what when
Thank
we
you,
met
Tracy.
the first time we met at Owners Club, you shared this with me, right? And I got goosebumps because I love meeting people like you that are so committed to, you want to change your community.
Yeah, it's
That's
important. I think that's the only thing we can control, right? Our community, and the stronger you get, grow your community, it's
yeah,
that's why Pace has done such an amazing job within our sub two community, and owners.
yeah,
It's amazing that we're so different states apart, and we're all like minded, trying to help each other
yeah,
grow. It's
yeah.
Absolutely.
pretty powerful.
It's
But I
amazing.
really appreciate your time, and value it. I know. Thank you for taking time away from your family, your business. Any parting messages y'all want to leave my audience? Where to connect with you? Where to follow you?
Yeah,
If y'all need anything, definitely
thank you.
more than welcome to share.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, thank you for your time.
We
Honestly,
appreciate you asking us to go on. We appreciate
we
that.
do. We really
Thank you.
appreciate it. I think doing these things, it helps everybody, not just us and you, but the community at large, and anybody that's listening that doesn't know anything about real estate and they're brand new.
Right.
So you're doing such a great service. Thank you.
We
And
appreciate it.
yeah, we're Chics Investing, Pamela Mullen and Tracy Koa. I have my Instagram is at Tracy Koa. We have at Chics Investing Instagram and YouTube. And like you, we're building up our YouTube podcast library, and we're
Awesome.
really working on building up social media. So it's different we haven't really done that before. So we're working on it, and it's fun.
Yes.
Yeah,
This helps. This helps, Edgar. Thank you so much.
yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, it was an honor to have y'all. Appreciate again the opportunity, and hopefully see y'all in Boston.
That's
Yeah.
right. We'll see you in Boston. All right.
Spooky.
Let's go. Awesome.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks, everybody.
Hey,
Thanks.
appreciate it.